the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is Spirit Session Podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Happy New Year, beautiful listener. It's your Ayurveda Gal Friday here, Katie Silcox, with a really special preview of what's coming up in 2025 Level 1. You are going to get a little taste of the Shakti School. If you're still sitting on the fence, get your sweet little booty into Level 1. It is a year-long women's empowerment school. It's so much more than an Ayurvedic certification. It is lady life school. It is Ayurveda Wednesdays. You can come live. You can do it anytime. And in this podcast, I talk about something that's really been taboo to talk about, especially for women, and that is money. Yes, yes, we need it. It's a part of reality. I want to help women just like you have more money in 2025. And so in Level 1, I share with the ladies how I built my little Ayurveda empire and how I can get you making $100,000 in your first year as an Ayurveda health coach. I did it. And you'll hear I was like barely able to pay my rent in San Francisco. So that's coming up in this episode, and the secrets in Level 1. So make sure to listen to this and sign up for Level 1 now. Go do it. It's happening. I can't wait to meet you there. If you do sign up, please on day 1, just put in the chat that you're a podcast listener. I can't wait to meet you. And I'm really, really excited for you to hear this spiritual business podcast, but also to see you hopefully in the Zoom room January 15th. All right, guys, much love, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello, hello. This class is badass. What we're going to do today is badass, okay? And that's the first time I've ever used that to talk about my own class. But I was listening to the class from last year. I know some of you may be teachers and you may hear yourself talk later on, but I got so inspired by listening to the lecture last year, and just for being able to share it again with my own heart and with you all, and just how powerful, how life-changing what we are going to be doing together as we sit in some of these ideas and some of these practices together. So I'm excited to be here. Today's class is on spirit, soul purpose, and your business, right? And this is for every single one of you, whether you plan on sharing this as an Ayurveda health coach, or you are doing Ayurveda school for you, but you have, a job, right? And that job might be being a mom, right? This class is for everyone, because this class is not about money. What? I'll say it again. This class is not about money. And so there can be a lot of confusion going in. Oh, spiritual business class. This class is about money. This class is not about money. And it is about money.
and we can really sort of front load the whole class by stepping into reality. The reality is, and I've been teaching this course for 7 years, but I've been teaching these ideas for over 15 years. And I'm going to share some secrets with you guys. After teaching thousands and thousands of women from many different cultures all over the planet, from Russia to Italy to Mexico to Canada to the United States, West Virginia, New York City, I've gotten around, ladies. And I'll tell you that women are a triple threat. When it comes to money, we're women, and we carry a lot of Shakti. Women, Shakti, but there's a shadow to that, and that is shame. And going around the whole world and then teaching these Shakti School Ayurveda classes to both level 1 and level 2, what I can tell you is the more that we can understand that not all of us come from the same backgrounds, the better. Right? Some of us in this room today, and we've had students in the past in Shakti School that we've had Mexican reality TV stars with 250,000 Instagram followers, right? We've had models from Argentina with 400,050 Instagram followers. We've had people probably like most of you that have no Instagram followers and don't even care about Instagram, right? We've had women that are from very meager upbringings. We've had many scholarship students come to us who live in Delhi, India, right? Or the back streets of Chicago. And when I watched some of our videos for our scholarship recipients, there was one video I think it was 2 years ago, that really rocked my world. And it was this gorgeous African-American woman in the backyard. And she was literally showing me her business. And she was like, I'm starting this hat business. And she was showing me all of the hats that she had bedazzled. Do you guys remember bedazzling? Some of you, not to be confused with bedazzling. She was bedazzling hats in her backyard. And she was on fire. She was like, I want to do this school, and here's the reason why. I have this idea for holistic health for my community. And she went into it. She was like, see this tree right here? This tree 4 years ago was dead. It was dry. And I mean, this woman is living in the inner city, and she had revived this little tree with nutrients and water and energy work. And now she's showing me her bedazzled hat collection, which I really want one of those hats. And her heart was so full of Shakti. We've had people do this program who come from some of the poorest parts of the United States, where many of my ancestors come from, who are teaching people in West Virginia, Ohio, Virginia, some of these, this is my communities where I'm from, where they didn't know what a zucchini was, where these ladies who had done Shakti School were teaching their communities about fresh vegetables and how to cook them. And we don't have to think, oh, poor them. This is their reality. And yet, in many of those examples that I'm giving you, including women from some of the poorest parts of the world, monetarily speaking, there was a real sense in them of possibility, of excitement, of purpose, of joy, and most importantly, of a heart for service. And when I sat with some of these women, and some of them I got to know, and others it was just a fleeting moment, I got this feeling of like, I want to support you. I want to buy what you're selling. I want your bedazzled hat. Whereas I would not have bought that hat maybe if I would have seen it like at a store. It's not about the hat. It's about the energy. There are some of you in this room tonight, today, this afternoon, and I know it because later you come up to me at the end of workshops or you write me emails that my staff send me, and it says something like this: Katie, I'm from a long line of a lot of wealth. My family gave me a trust fund when I was 18, and I have more money than I can ever spend, and I have multi-generational wealth that I can pass on. And I've never spoken up in Shakti School because I have so much shame about that. I would never want to admit that I was born wealthy in terms of money. I have so much shame. And then on the other end of the spectrum, and some of you are here today, I have heard stories from women that say, Katie, I grew up a certain way, maybe grew up with a family lineage or not, but I don't feel like I have enough. Money is always a struggle for me. I feel like a month to month, it was a challenge for me to even do this program. And when I think about starting my own business, I feel terrified because I just don't think that I'm worthy of it. And I just don't believe that it's possible. And I have so much shame around money. We have people who have shame around money who feel that they don't have any in this room today. And we have people who feel like they have more than they could ever spend or give away who have shame around money. You see where I'm going. This is not a class about a dollar amount in your bank account. This is a class about money and shame. And I want this to be an actual safe/brave space for you tonight where we can really let that down. Just like we have to let down shame around sexuality. And we're not telling anybody who or how to have sex. We also have to let down and let go of that taboo around money and asking for it and being okay with having it and being okay with not having it right now. That every part of this spectrum of each woman's experience who's here today is welcome to this room today. So if you're struggling with money, we got you. We get it. It's awful. I've been there. And if you have a lot of money and you're embarrassed about that, and you don't feel like you could ever even have a complaint about anything related to money because of it, we've got you. You are welcome here, and you're welcome to be open about these things. I also want to address something else that tends to come up when we talk about money. It tends to bring up a lot of old belief systems, intergenerational trauma, the way your mom thought about money and taught you about money, the way your dad thought about money and taught you about money, or whoever raised you, it literally gets downloaded into us. We're going to start to open up to those stories today without making anything bad or wrong or any person bad or wrong, but just starting to open up to the truth of that. We heal things by bringing them into the light. Today's class is not about a dollar amount in your bank. Today's class is how worthy you feel of showing up for the world with something that is highly valuable. And what is it? It's you. It's you. There's a reason that Katie Silcox's second book is called Glowworthy. It's an antidote to the first one called Healthy, Happy, Sexy, none of which she felt. It's just a joke. Y'all know I feel that way some of the time. But Glowworthy, the title was inspired by a moment when I was up in an old house I had back in Ivy, Virginia, and Healthy, Happy, Sexy had come out a few years before, and a neighbor came over to meet me for the first time. Lovely woman, just a typical middle upper class soccer mom, came over, brought me like a housewarming gift and got to know me and asked me what I was doing. And, I actually don't really talk a lot about my job when I'm meeting people because they tend to just get way more into that than me. But I mentioned that I'd written a book and I gave her a copy, and she picked it up. And by the way, I was already writing the second book, right? And she picked it up and, it's called Healthy, Happy, Sexy. And she saw at the bottom where it says New York Times bestselling, blah, blah, blah. And she went, oh my God, a New York Times bestselling author's just moved into my neighborhood. I don't feel worthy. And I looked at her and I went, that's the title of my second book. The second book's called Worthy. Now, y'all know I didn't publish the second book. I published the third one. So it's all in there. But my point is, this class is so much about that feeling of the story I told you last week and I told in spirit sessions last month about the diamond necklace. It's not about putting the necklace on or stealing the necklace or getting some dude to buy you the necklace or working your ass off to buy it yourself because you're Beyonce, you pay your bills, It's not about that. It's about the intrinsic yogini path that you are on that understands that the feeling of money is what matters. The feeling of abundance, the feeling of agency, the feeling of prana, the feeling that you have what you need to make shit move. Some of y'all got a rich husband or wife making shit move for you, and we are shaking our tambourines for you. Welcome. You got something going there. That's a part of it. Some of you are like, I've never known that life, and I've had to work every single day to even make anything move, and we're shaking our tambourine for you. Some of you don't even have to worry about money. We're shaking our tambourine for you, but today's class is not about a dollar amount. It is about looking and investigating with curiosity and openness and gentleness and compassion at the places in which you, whether you've got $1 or $20 million, are self-sabotaging around this prana. So once upon a time, I was a young woman living in San Francisco, the most expensive city in the world, doing a job that laughably was one of the least paying jobs in the world. Many of you know this, and it's a job called yoga teacher. And I remember, I think I may have told y'all this, but I remember going and teaching a class at a yoga studio, and parking in San Francisco, some of you know, it is like a joke, right? And I finally found a parking spot and got out, taught the class, wonderful tantric yoga class, just feeling like, oh, I'm doing my life's work, right? I'm so where I want to be, and walking out and seeing that $250 white piece of paper in my little car, and looking and noticing also, by the way, I did not have a back window. It was just gone, right? And so I remember just sitting in the car crying and thinking, what do I need to sell on Craigslist besides my body this month, right? What could I sell on Craigslist to make rent? And I didn't have enough. Now, of course, I could have called my mom and dad. They would have helped me, but I'd already done that a lot, right? And I was just like, sell the harmonium, sell the painter's easel. And I sold them. And I made the month work. What's so amazing about that story is that a month later, one of my yoga students called me up. She was a woman older than me, probably in her 50s, and her father had died, and he was sort of in my mind, like a super rich San Francisco guy. And she said, Katie, I noticed that your car doesn't have a back window, and I'm worried about you traveling across that Bay Bridge every day, wondering if your car is going to make it. You don't want to get stopped on the Bay Bridge with a bad car. She said, my dad passed away, as you know, and I want you to come over, and we have a lot of cars. You can pick one. And I got this like 2000 Audi, and it wasn't anything special, but for me, it felt like she had given me a Ferrari. And by the way, I'm going to cry. Her name was Carmi. Her name was Carmi. She gave me a car. And that was a month after really feeling like I'd hit rock bottom and sold things to make it. And I only mention that because throughout that whole process, there was this fire in my belly and my heart that knew I'm meant to share this teaching with the world. That's my little journey. That's really what we're interested in investigating. What is this fire of knowingness? And when we really can tap into that sense of self-trust and divine trust, the money and the resources, and maybe it'll be a car me for you, right? But the miracles and the magic do start to move. So today is about spiritual business, and it's also about expansion. It's about how can I bring what I am, which is not needing any New Year's Eve resolutions, which doesn't need any Shakti School, class, that doesn't need any self-improvement program. How can I bring the essence of being into becoming? There's a concept in Tantra called spanda. Spanda is a Sanskrit word that means pulsation, expansion, contraction, big bang, if you will. We can think of it on a micro level or a universal level, but over time, we start to grow our sense of what's possible. And things seem to be going our way. And then what happens, everybody? Contraction. Oh my God, Venus is in what house this week? Yeah. And contraction. And oh my God, money seems to be finally flowing to me, and taxes. Right? And so I really feel like I'm finally launching my Ayurveda business, and someone says something nasty about me, and on and on and on. And so what Tantra says is this divine spanda is actually the way in which the soul operates. Light and dark, expansion and contraction. And it's often in that divine contraction where we actually ask for help. Divine help, human help, angelic help, animal realm help, whatever it is, that's where we become what? We become, look at my little thing, we become small. My teacher used to say, Katie, I don't want you to bow down at the feet of any body ever again. There's no human that you need to bow before. The only one that you need to bow down before is the divine. So be very small before God, right? And be equal before everyone else. So our inquiry as we move into this very special class is, in the words of my dear friend Kate Stillman, the bigger your dharma, often the bigger your dollars required, right? You may think, but look at someone like Thich Nhat Hanh. There's a wonderful story of Thich Nhat Hanh where he says, I am but a Thai monk. And I feel so very lucky because I don't have to worry about the things that you all worry about. I'm very, very lucky. You have to worry about your bank account. And because I'm a monk, someone else does that for me. But if you look at Plum Village and the Thich Nhat Hanh meditation centers all over the world, they are in beautiful, wonderful places, and those require millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to run. Thich Nhat Hanh, a humble Thai monk, generated. Even if he wasn't rolling around like Osho, thank God, in a Ferrari, right? So we're going to look at some of our preconceived notions, hidden notions, and beliefs around energy and money tonight. There can also be this fear that crops up in students year after year after year, and it may crop up tonight, and it may crop up when you start doing your exam or whenever, right? And it may not crop up at all, but the fear that I want to call to the light that might be in you this afternoon is this, and it maybe have been with you for much longer than now. And that I see so often is, do I know enough to share? Do I know enough? I call it certificationitis. If I just get one more course in, if I just get one more master's degree, if I just get one more doctorate, if I just get one more of this certification and that certification, and don't get me wrong, I think we should study and learn, and y'all know my heart for tradition, but in many, many of the humans that I get the pleasure to interface with, the muscle that needs to be built is not the muscle of humility around and the hubris of thinking we know too much. It is quite the opposite. It is the fear that's holding us back from actually stepping out into a culture that desperately needs the wisdom that you have learned this year alone in Ayurveda school, plus the years that you've been studying and being who you are. I remember a friend back in my early days of studying Ayurveda where I too suffered from fear and certificationitis. And I said, I just don't know if I'm ready to go out and be an Ayurveda health coach. And he said, are you kidding me? You live in the American South. People are eating McDonald's. Like, do you think that it would be helpful to teach them 10 or 15 classes one-on-one about tongue scraping and neti pot and oiling your skin and basic Agni digestion? And he went on and on and on and on and on. And he developed in my mind a map of the first 13 sessions that I offered as an Ayurveda starter pack with Katie Silcox that cost $1,000 something. And it was like, I remember charging when I was a newbie over $1,000 for this. And I was so excited when I was preparing for this class today because I said, guys, they have to sign up. That's the deal. This is a pack. You want to roll down this road to me? We're going to go, honey. It's going to be 10 sessions, or I said 13 sessions because I like to be tantric. And they say, whoa, I feel that I am with someone that's going to hold me for 13 sessions. This feels safe. There's structure for this Shakti to flow through. I could not keep up with the amount of people that wanted to sign up for what I was offering. And guess what, ladies? That means that with 3 clients, you've paid for the whole of Ayurveda School Level 1. Can I get an amen? That shit's cool. So if you've got 10, that's 10 grand. But you can have 100 because this is so, so needed. Nothing would make me happier if the women of the Ayurveda school had 100 grand. Maybe that's what you want to live on, but some of you, that could be extra. What would the world be like if the women like you of Shakti School had a lot more money? This is beyond not a lot to ask. And guess what? I did that without working 40 hours a week. So stay with me. I want to say it again and again and again. It's not about money. It's not about a money amount. It's the glow that makes people want to work with you. Whether you're an Ayurveda health coach or you're whatever you want to do in the world, people don't come to your yoga class because they like the way you instruct downward dog. They come because they like you. People don't come to your Ayurveda health coaching sessions because they think you're the smartest Ayurveda person they know. It's because they like you. And so not like, oh, you have to be likable, but that your practice that is authentic and creating a life change in you is what draws and creates the charisma and the glow that people want. This Sanskrit word, adhikara. Adhikara is a word in Sanskrit that means to be made ready for. This year has been a training. Once you're done, hear me if y'all have kind of gone to sleep because this is really important. You're certified. You're done. You've been made ready for. You paid for this. You showed up. All your teachers showed up. Girl, you know Katie Silcox has shown up. I show up for you. And more importantly, the Vidya has shown up. This has nothing to do with India. This has to do with Ma. And it has everything to do with India. This is bigger than that. This is global mother medicine. In the words of the great Sandhya Ramaswamy, if you didn't catch that podcast, go listen to her and I talking about this. This is your grandmother, your great grandmother. This is your grandfather, your great grandfather. It's all of our lineages, but it's also the first chakra. This is what the Native Americans here where I sit called Great Turtle Island. This is the earth below you. This is the infinite realm beneath of the ancient reptilian foreverness of grandmother saying, I want to be known. Adhikara, you've been made ready for this. And I understand why it's super scary to go out into the world full of corn dogs and, strip clubs and sports bars and televisions and politics and step out and say, hey, let's feel into our heart. And we're called woo-woo and we're called unicorn and we're called witches, weirdos, wonderful and wounded, right? That's partially true. But I understand your hesitance to step out full force with your billboard about what you do, because for us, this group, this 94 of you that are here live and the hundreds of you that will watch this later, let's call a spade a spade. This is an indigenous women's wisdom that for many, many hundreds, if not thousands of years has been taboo. So some of your fear is your personal shit and your own insecurities and your personality and how you grew up and all that. But some of the fear is just fear, capital F, that all of us feel when we step out with an authentic heart in a current culture that I would say is even more challenging than it was 5 years ago. So I get you, but we're brave and we're needed. If you, through your next year, can help one person drop their energy down into their back body and down into the ground and take away 1 ounce of fear and anxiety and help them, your whole Shakti School career, in my mind, has been made worth the effort. Adhikara, to be made ready for. At the end of level 1, you've been made ready for, not because I proclaim it. I'm just here to knock on your heart's door and ask you to maybe check that out as something you could get down with. I had a dream once. People ask us all the time, what is this certification? Ayurveda, as you know, is not a certified thing. And I think that's good because it's indigenous wisdom. But I remember having a dream when I was younger and dealing with some of these issues around certification and yoga certification and this certification and that. And the fabulous Shiva Ray came to me in my dream and she said, Katie, you are certified by your pussy. Now I'm just sharing how it came up from my subconscious. Work with your own dream world. But one of the things that I absolutely love about Shakti School is that you certify you. And how do you deepen that trust and that self-confidence? And the way is that when you have tasted something in this school or in your life and your many travels and travails and studies, when all of you, and I know it's happened for all of you this year, when you taste something, and I think for many of you, it happens every class, that has touched you. One of the definitions of Tantra is to be touched deeply in the heart. When something has really hit, when we're living from the heart chakra, the natural end result of being touched there is that we must share it. It's just, we must. That's the heart. I also want to say that I want to touch into that diamond necklace again, because we're essentially all 95 of us today, and those that are watching later, we're already wearing it. That's the nature of Shakti. Women don't need empowerment. You're done. It's just who we are. And I include men as well. Our intrinsic nature is light. This Ayurveda thing is not about a food list or a doshic mind body type. This Ayurveda thing is about awakening the light of the heart and clearing out anything in the way of the heart, the soul's true light, from being able to be experienced within and seen without. So let this be a little bit of a divine cheerleader on your right shoulder, shaking her pom-pom when you feel any sort of shroud of doubt. Go to a cocktail party, go to an event, go to a potluck, go to any kind of social gathering, whether it's New York City or New Delhi, whether it's West Virginia or California, England or Australia, just go. And when someone asks you, what do you do? Say to them, I am an Ayurvedic health coach. And I don't care who it is. Most people are going to go, what is that? And then you'll say, oh, well, let me see your palm. And then they're like, whoa, she's a palm reader. No. Just let me look at your hands. So do you see the way that your palm is like quite even and your fingers are quite symmetrical? Look at my palm. Do you see how long it is? And you're showing them dosha through their own body. Well, Ayurveda is a system that understands that everyone's mind, body is a unique thing. We're all different, but there are these ways where we can read your specific mind, body type. And from there, you create a whole reality around what you eat, what lifestyle things would be great for you, what types of exercise. And then we also bring in the seasons, blah, blah, blah. Everybody will ask you so many questions. People will be interested in what you're doing. Some of you have already had this happen. I'm sitting on an airplane, I'm in a cocktail party, and people are super curious about what we do. If we can find a common language to be able to articulate it in a way that makes sense to whoever we're speaking to. We have to learn how to transmit these teachings like warm soup. Warm soup can be digested. It might not be a good idea, although I've certainly challenged this many, many times, to go into the depths of the tantric philosophy around everything initially. All right, we want to start with a language that people can relate to. Why are people so curious about what we do? Because there's an indwelling sense in all humans of Ayurveda. There's an indwelling knowledge and commonsensicalness about Ayurveda in all humans. This is bigger than India, although we love India. This is big mama medicine. This is big mama. And one might argue that big mama medicine has, I don't want to even say immense value. I want to say that she has no price. There's no value that you can put on the way that you love your child or that you love your grandmother or the way she loved you. There's no price you can put on care and compassion. There's no price you can pay on you sitting with a client and holding heart space with them and being a deep listener. There's no price. So if you think that you don't want to charge $150, girl, it's priceless. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.